Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. So it's that time of the month once again where the hype for an update starts building. People are going to want to get their own opinions forward to where Polyphony and this game need to go going forward. And well, I'm in exactly the same boat and I'm here today to give you things that I personally think Polyphony need to implement to GT7 to really push this game going forward again, especially considering it's currently on the back of doing some really poor updates that didn't even really scratch the surface or really give players any real reason to play for more than maybe a day or two at most. So I took some time away recently from GT7. I haven't really touched the game too much over the last month or so. In fact, I've just been kind of focusing elsewhere and just playing games for the enjoyment, whether that be arcade races, simulators like iRacing, Forza Motorsport itself, or even shooters and stuff. I've just kind of took a step back and kind of been thinking, look, where can Polyphony go with this game and what will massively improve it? And well, if the rumours are true, according to Nenkai, Polyphony are cooking up something quite big for 1.40. So, you know, there is a chance here for Gran Turismo to kind of build upon the foundations and the head start that it's had over the competition like Forza Motorsport and really cement itself as the go-to console racer. Let's be honest, Forza Motorsport has fallen fairly flat in terms of the expectations that was on it, and I'm kind of in the same boat. As much as I do enjoy that game, it really felt like it just didn't deliver. It was kind of a similar situation to GT7, and well, GT7 actually, well, has the head start in that situation. So let's start with the elephant in the room, and one that's probably going to come up with every GT7 player currently is, well, events. To be honest, this is where this game has constantly struggled with its solid foundations, great driving, beautiful car models and everything else in between. The one place that this game feels like it falls flat in terms of making it one of those amazing Gran Turismo titles from the past is actually events, and it's going to go further than just events itself. It's all good putting events in, but if they're kind of 5-10 minutes in length, they're not really meaningful and you'll kind of just use them as a checklist. You'll go ahead, get the gold medal and then just kind of move on. What I actually want to see in terms of the events is not only more meaningful and lengthy events with a fair payout to the player. They don't have to necessarily be the longest event going. Even a 15-minute road car race with a fair payout, or even going as deep as maybe another few hour-long races. There really is a ton of potential in this game to kind of cater towards a bunch of different length races that are actually meaningful to the player. And that's the problem. When they kind of go down the road car route, it is like almost a complete checklist of events. They'll last anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes or just a couple of laps, should I say, and basically you're then done. You'll probably never ever go to that event. Even stretching out road car events to 15-20 minutes and kind of having a focus on them, as well as your race events being much longer and more suited to the whole fuel, tyre system, weather system that we have in this game, would just make it overall a much better experience. So not only do we just need events, we need meaningful events that just feel like they're kind of catering to all types of cars that are in this game. At the end of the day, this game is literally a shrine to car lovers. It's a beautiful game with amazing car models, and to be honest, take advantage of them in terms of the events. Let's see road cars focused on, let's see race cars focused on, you know, all types of cars that this game kind of, you know, gives a drive in heaven for. Let's just give them events and make sure that they're, you know, meaningful to the player and they feel like they have some weight and depth to them. Not only that though, I'm also going to go on to say that, to be honest, the return of seasonal events, we've kind of seen them in short bursts. They come along as sort of timed events, but I certainly think this is something that should come alongside pretty much every update as a kind of curated event, you know, something seasonal, a timed event with a, you know, nice chunky payout and, you know, a complete different take on certain vehicles. We've had the Olympic one, which, you know, took on the Toyota hypercar. We've had ones with the Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak, I believe, towards the end and start of this year. So overall, there is a ton of potential in seasonal events, and I don't necessarily expect them to return in the full sense of how they used to be, but, you know, we've seen hints that there is great way to use use these timed events and such, and definitely bringing them back as a kind of side thing to each update would be a fantastic thing, as well as giving us some, you know, completely different out of the blue races. I've always enjoyed these kind of, you know, small seasonal events that have been time limited, and, you know, I've enjoyed jumping into them and just kind of, you know, cracking on and doing something different. I feel like they're fantastic, and I feel like Polyphony definitely need to take advantage of just how wacky some of these events can be. So let's move on to point number 2 here, and this is something that's bothered me the older Gran Turismo has gotten. Now, invitations, okay, let's just quickly talk about them, because they're a bit of a mess, and Polyphony's actually proven they can remove them at the start of GT7's life cycle, I believe, as a kind of, you know, apology for the whole mess and palaver that was GT7 on launch. They essentially took out the invites for 28 days so people could go ahead and pick up all of the cars, and well, that's exactly what I did, so I didn't have the burden of waiting around for a car invitation. So they've kind of proven they can take them out, but that's not exactly why it bothers me. What bothers me is when we've got things such as the Bugatti Chiron, you know, which can just be purchased at any time. The same with the Valkyrie, but yet you've got the Vulcan and Bugatti Veyron and such that you have to wait for an invite. I just feel like the system's kind of been outdated for quite a while at this point, and the more kind of, you know, special hypercars we get that can just be bought straight away without an invite, the more this system becomes completely meaningless. You know, removing the invites at this point would just be a great idea. It's only a handful of cars, to be honest. A lot of them are basically outdated at this point. Like I said, the Vulcan's been kind of outdated by the Valkyrie, the Chiron's outdated the Veyron, and there's just really no need to be keeping that in place at this point. It's a system that, like I said, the older GT7 has got, the more it's gone on to just really get on my nerves and just bother me, even though it's not an issue for me and I already own all the cars. I could imagine those people that are just waiting around for a Bugatti invite when they can just go ahead and buy the Chiron, which is overall the better vehicle, just kind of sit there quite frustrated as to why is this system in place. So yeah, definitely needs looking into and removing at this point in GT7's life cycle. So I'm actually going to move on to a quality of life thing for multiplayer next, and I feel like this is something that definitely needs to return, and that is a live DR and SR indicator. Now, I believe this was something that was in GT Sport. I'm pretty sure I remember it being in there. It's been quite a while since I really went into a multiplayer race. Basically, the ability to see a live DR and SR arrow, so either up or down, basically so we can see what our actions are doing to our DR and SR rating over time. This is something that was great for information and really kind of showed off, you know, what our actions were doing in the long run in terms of how good we were driving, how bad we were driving, whether our safety rating was going up and down. Just having a look at that just so we kind of know what's happening as we're driving. I feel like it's a great quality of life addition, and it keeps the player informed on everything that they're doing, whether their actions are good, bad, whether it was a clean overtake. Again, maybe it's just more catering towards those that might not have a ton of experience in competitive multiplayer, but definitely informing the player of what their actions are doing would be a great thing in terms of the multiplayer. And now I'm going to suggest something very similar, but for the single player portion of the game, a clean race bonus indicator. This is something that I definitely feel is needed, and I feel like a lot of people agree, considering the parameters of what gives you a clean race bonus seems to change, you know, from event to event. Some events you can collide with cars, the only thing you can't do is, you know, kind of break the yellow flag rule. Some events you can't touch the cars, but you can pretty much do anything else you want, and some are completely strict, whether you even, you know, remotely touch a different vehicle on track or hit the wall and such, and your clean race bonus is gone. Just having a indicator to just, you know, measure the parameters of each event without having to do a ton of guessing work would be absolutely fantastic. Again, it's another quality of life improvement that would definitely change up that portion of the game, and, you know, it kind of is in line with what I'd said with the DR and SR indicator. It just kind of keeps the player informed of what their actions are doing as they're kind of going through each race, whether they've gone off track, hit the wall. You know, just knowing that they've either got the clean race bonus or they've lost it would definitely go on to inform the player in much more depth than, you know, you actually would think at first. And now I'm actually going to go back to the multiplayer portion of the game, sport mode itself, and I'm going to be totally honest, I honestly think it's a little bit tired at this point in its life cycle. It's been a very similar system for a long time, and well, after playing the multiplayer in Forza Motorsport and feeling like there's just more depth to it, even though it's a fairly similar system to sport mode, I definitely feel like it's now in need of a bit of a shake up. And I'm actually going to suggest that things that need to be done is taking advantage of more of the tracks that really don't get a look in. I feel like a lot of sport mode is very rinse and repeat. We seem to see the same vehicles, same track layouts over and over again, and it's a bit disappointing. Although they've kind of improved this over time, I just don't think they've improved it enough. There is a ton to play around with in GT7, and I feel like Polyphony now need to take advantage of it in daily races. Let's have some variety in the cars, let's have some variety in the tracks and weather, you know, let's put in some of those tracks that don't really get a look in, let's allow more in-depth tuning. You know, this is something that, again, Forza Motorsport has kind of taken the system from sport mode itself and really kind of improved it, and I feel like Polyphony are now in a place where they could quite easily step this up. Sport mode is popular for a reason. It's reliable, it's fun, it's overall very competitive, and I definitely feel like it's in need of a shake up in terms of kind of looking more in depth at all the different cars that are in this game, more tracks, you know, kind of stop the rinse and repeat cycle and just kind of shake it up more races, even in line with what we see in the Nations and Manufacturers Cup would be fantastic. But it's a shame they're only every few weeks or so, and sometimes that goes on a hiatus whilst they're, you know, setting up the new season, and I would definitely want to see more of those style of races brought forward into daily races. They're more competitive, they're more enjoyable, and there's just a lot more depth to them, and they do take advantage of everything that's in place within GT7. And finally, I'm going to touch on this point only quickly because I feel like, although to most people it's probably a minor thing, it's something that's kind of irritated me with the fact that it's been there pretty much since day one. Finally, we need a split screen fix. Let's be totally honest, yes, I get it, split screen maybe isn't what it was the way back when, but a lot of people do want to just sit down on a sofa or something and just casually play with a friend or maybe even their son, daughter or whatever sat next to them and just play a bit of split screen. I used to love split screen in Gran Turismo games, and whilst it's not really kind of my thing these days, the fact that this has gone unfixed since day one, it certainly needs that fix. You know, it's been over 18 months at this point. Definitely go ahead and just fix this split screen because, again, I'm sick of seeing it in the notes, and there is a audience there for split screen, although it's probably only very, you know, minor at this point in time in this day and age. It's definitely something that could do with being looked into. So that's going to be it from me today. Those are things after taking a break that I feel like Polyphony really need to focus on within GT7, and a lot of it is just pure quality of life changes. They have a solid foundation with GT7, and hopefully the rumors do turn out to be true and the next update is a big one. So there we go. Let me know what you want to see down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.